Hey guys, welcome to part 6. I'm going to be teaching you how to place down things in terrain processor and just mass place trees, stuff like that. You can do it with rocks, you can do it with many other things, but I'm just going to be teaching you how to do that. So the first thing the two things we're going to need is terrain processor and terrain builder. But we're just going to go into terrain builder and get the terrain ready for putting trees on it. So I'm just going to open up my project. Now that I'm in it, I'm going to make sure I have the plants F in the library. I'm also going to put cup plants in there because I seem to like their plants. I've used PBO extract PBO to put my cup mods in here. So it's just plants 2, I believe. That's if I exported them. I might not have exported them. There they are. And I'm gonna, yeah, it's gonna do the same with that. I'm gonna auto rename them. So automatically rename all, because it's complaining that there's already that there. I'm going to export plants 1 as well. So I'm just gonna go to Makero's tools. This is how you extract every mod to your P drive. So all I have to do is, you need Makero's tools downloaded, so I'm just gonna get that ready. And then it's called extract PBO. So once I'm in here, I'm gonna find the mods that I need. So that would be in my Arma 3 workshop cup terrains core, and it's cup plants 1. I've already got plants 2, so I just need to find plants. So just that. So I'll pick that as the PBO. Don't think it works. Yeah, plants. Okay, and then for this, I'll just do it straight into my P drive. And what it will do is it will organize it and put it in my CA folder where it's supposed to be. So I'll hit extract. Could take a while. Now that that's done, I can import my cup plants, CA plants. Just got to make sure the CA folder in your PBO, in your P drive, make sure you build that into a PBO and load that with your map. Otherwise, you can't use the objects that you use with CA. So yeah, I'm gonna go into my CA, load plants, just plants underscore 2 and plants 1. I don't think there's an underscore, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna load them and put the libraries in there. So that's plants 2. Then I'm gonna find the first one as well. So CA and plants. Invalid name, it already exists. Oh, so it turns out I already had that in there. Okay, so we have plants F, which is Arma 3's plants. We have plants 2, which is just the normal plants from CA. That includes grass as well. And then plants, which is some more plants from CA. So I'm just going to choose which trees I want, and then I can apply that to my terrain processor task. Okay, so I found the 3 trees that I want to use. They're quite nice. It's going to randomly generate them and scale them, but we're going to need to set up a mask for where the trees don't want to go. So we'll just load up the stat map, and what we'll do, we'll go to shapes, create a new layer. It's really important you create a new layer here, and create it tree mask. Right, so we'll go to shapes and add a polygon. So we'll mask where we don't want the trees to go. So obviously I don't want them near the airfield, so I'll just mask over here. So now that's masked. And I'll also mask anywhere where there's rocks, so I'll just time lapse this. Okay, so that seems to be the majority covered. I'm just going to save this quickly. Yeah, so if that's the case, we should be able to hide whatever we don't need. That's my tree mask. That's where I don't want the trees to go. Yeah, so I left some open bits, say here, where I want it to be grassy, because I don't want the whole place to be trees, and I left a bit here so I can teach you how to place objects through the Eden editor. Alright, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to hide every other shape thing, so default and any other one you had. Go to your tree mask, select every single one, the third one. Actually, we probably don't need to do that. You can just go export, shapes, current layer, so it will just select the tree mask, and then I will export that to source shapefiles, and we'll call it tree mask, and that will export that shapefile over there. Now that that's done, we can show these again and go into terrain processor. We need to also remember the classes for all of these trees. So if I could move this bulldozer window to the side, there we go. Alright, so we can just create a new task right here, or a new project. I made a terrain processor folder, and I'll just call it tut_island. Doesn't really matter what you call it. So that's that. You can add tasks here. So the first task I'll add, I'm just going to do a high density cluster. There are loads of tasks there. So the object I'm going to be placing is, I got the class name of my tree. If you just select your tree in Bulldozer, it's on the other monitor, but just select the tree you want to find the class name of, and it should highlight it automatically in your libraries, so you can find it, and that's the class name of the first tree I want. So I'm just going to type that in quickly. Okay, probability for this, I want it to be 40%, I'd say. Minimum height, let's say 80, maximum height 120, and the distance, I'd say 10 between each tree. So let me find the class of the other tree. I'll just select that. So my other tree is selected, and that tree is T_Pinus N2S. And the probability for this, I'm just going to make it 30. Minimum height, this tree is really short, so I want the minimum height for this to be 120 and the maximum to be 150, because this tree should be nice and tall. It's one of those wintry trees. So distance again, I'm going to say 10. So now I'm going to get the class name for my other tree, which would be, as it states here, T_Pinus S2F, so rather than N2F, S2F. So new T_Pinus S2F. I think that's it. Probability 30. It's got to add up to 100. That's common sense, really. And I want this tree to be about 110 and 130, because this tree is normally tall. 130. And the distance, again, I will put 10. Okay. Now that that's done, we can go to our parameters. So, random speed. So the speed the seed used by the random generator bar. The seed doesn't really matter. Hectare density. Okay, so that's the density of the trees. So it says here the density for a number of the objects for hectare. For example, 100 objects per hectare means an average of a distance of about 10 meters between objects. So I'm going to put that as 75. Fraction, count the smallest cluster. I mean, this doesn't really matter, to be honest. You can really just experiment with all of this stuff until you get the settings you like. yeah, so I like that. File name, so this is a shape file. Oh, yeah. So we need to also get a shape file where we want the trees to be placed, so I'll create a new one, a new layer, sorry, and we will name it tree placement. Now that we're in this layer, you can just select where you want the trees to go with a polygon again. So polygon, select where there's land, which is pretty much everywhere. Doesn't matter if you go over where you don't want it to go because you've got your mask there anyway. And then we just double click the last one, and there is our tree placement. So I'm just gonna select this layer, export it, so shapes, so the current layer, and we will call it tree placement. And there's our shapefile for the tree placement. Okay, let's save this. So if we go back in there, shapefile, we select the shapefile of the tree placement, so where we want the shapes to go. So tree placement, and it will kind of mimic the shape in there. And then that's pretty much it for the placement. Now we need to create a mask, so I'll hit a new task and it will be mask linear. And what this is a basically object's distance, I would say about 7. We're gonna make it so it doesn't go on the roads, and as the roads is a shapefile, this will only work for the roads which are a shapefile, not the object roads. So you have to do the trees around the object roads manually. So I'm gonna put the distance between the shapefile as, I don't know, actually 10. I'll put it as 10 because you might make the width of the road quite wide depending on how you set it up in your roseLib.cfg. And then the shapefile, you would select your roads because this is a mask, so you don't want it to go where the roads are. So go data, roads, and then your road shape. It will mimic it over there. And then that's your mask for your road. Now if you create a new task again, we can create a mask area, and this will be our tree mask. So parameters, remove objects inside, so the trees won't go inside the shapefiles you've exported. You find the shapefile, which would be in your source shapefiles, and then tree mask. It will mimic it over there. This is where we don't want the trees to go. And then you can just hit OK on that. I'm going to save this just to make sure, because I want to use this again probably for some other maps. But all you have to do is select the export location, so the output directory. We'll do it, into terrain processor, and we can export it as an LBT, which is what we want. We'll hit OK and hit run. It's going to execute the task. It may take a while depending on what the task is and how much it's actually generating. Okay, so it took about 5 minutes. Now it's done. It's really important that you don't do anything while it's doing it, otherwise it can freeze your terrain processor and you'll ruin it. So that's done, and I exported it to my terrain processor folder. I'm just going to rename it trees, so I know what it is when I put it in terrain builder. So I'll just open that up, because I had to restart my PC, so I had to re-record this part. Terrain builder completely seized up. It gets really annoying when that happens. So terrain builder's up. I'm just gonna quickly hide these shapes as I don't really need them right now. Save it as well. Oh, if I could. Okay, and here we go. We can import it now. So you do import objects, advanced, make sure it's absolute, and we can go to terrain processor and put the LBT in there. It can take a while depending on how many things you're actually importing. It can take anywhere from 10 minutes to a couple of hours. Yeah, this will only take a couple minutes. Okay, well, as you can see, it worked quite nicely. It didn't go where we didn't want it to go, so none of the rocks are filled up. And if you don't want the trees to lag up your terrain builder while you're working, you can always just hide the layer. But let's see how this looks in Bulldozer. And I hope this mask actually worked, the road mask, because the trees seem awfully close to that road. You can always change your distance in which the trees are from the mask in the linear mask. The option was there earlier, but I guess I didn't make the distance big enough. So let's just see what this looks like. Okay, so we are in, and this is what we got. We got some, yeah, I think it looks really nice. You can obviously make them closer if you want. You can make them more dense, less dense, and it doesn't go on any of the rocks. Yeah, I personally really like this. So yeah, this is definitely the best kind of trees I've had because I never used cup trees before. You can obviously play around with it a bit. Like obviously there shouldn't be some trees on these rocks over here, so you can just select and delete them. But it's really up to you to do what you want with these. Like you can just play around with the terrain processor. They have lots of tools. I wouldn't recommend their road flattening one though, because that is very buggy and doesn't work all the time. Normally just makes big valleys in your terrain which look really ugly. Oh. Wow, this worked quite nicely. So this is the road as well. So there are a few trees on the road. You can obviously move that. I'm going to change the distance in which the trees are from the mask, but yeah, it worked quite nicely. And this big area I left here to teach you how to place objects in the Eden editor. Okay, so that's about it for this part. I hope you enjoyed. Next part will be to do with the config and exporting.